Hello, here basically we are discussing one of the topic that is city creation. City creation basically we are discussing one of the topic that is future creation. So one of the person told that basically future is the creation basically, and that basically is doing by the Indian group. Here basically I am taking the example of India basically. Why? Because currently my location is India. So one of the person told that if the 23rd number blood group basically 22 blood group basically might not be going to leave that person basically so easily basically. So they can basically plan the 23rd number blood groups generation end basically. Then he told that mostly basically this might be possible that 23rd number blood group basically might be removed from his generation, next generation basically might be finished basically by the 22 blood group. Why? Because 22 blood group owner basically are very powerful in the earth planet, and they basically whatever say basically that happens. So for example, one person basically tracked that with this person basically is getting new ideas basically, new views. So they basically how they track basically through question paper, question answer, computers basically creation. So if he's a software person, if he's a medical person basically, like this each and every stuff basically connects to the environment, and environment data are also checked. The environment groups check basically whether anybody is going getting any new ideas or not basically, like this basically these tracks. And like this assume that basically they tracked that 23rd number person basically. Here basically the satellite group basically are connected with that basically the 22 blood group don't know. So like this they tracked it, and then basically they assume that basically they tracked, and then they told that basically यार ये हमको problem create कर सकता है. This person basically can create problem to us basically in future. So they all basically become one, and basically they planned basically something big. That was basically his generation basically was ended through Nasbandi basically. Assume that basically that Nasbandi told that basically from this Nasbandi basically his next generation is not going to happen. Whether he basically do the marriage, and then also basically his next generation is not going to happen. So that blood group, that is the 23rd number blood group, will end basically slowly, and then basically the 23rd blood group will end basically, and then the all other 23rd number blood group data basically is going to convert to the 22 numbers blood group basically. That is the 1 to 22 blood groups going to divide again into that. So like this basically the future plan is also basically done by the, and this basically happens basically really basically this happens because this only basically who can do, who basically are into the medical industry, who are basically into the nuclear power company, who are basically into the nuclear energy, who are basically into the political people, who are basically into politics. Because assume that basically one of the political person basically uh, was has created problem to that 23rd number blood group which is going to happen basically. So it might possible that the political person basically might create damage to his, that means he basically can't create the damage basically, he basically can't kill him. Why? Because he is connected with the satellite group basically, and if anything basically is going to happen to that particular person basically, then 100% the 22 blood groups are also going to affect directly. So they basically don't kill that person basically, they will not kill that person basically, but they will do the damaging basically of the person basically. The damaging is what basically, his generation basically will end basically, his generation will 100% end basically. So like this basically the generation is going to end. And like this one of the person told that if the for example Nasbandi is done basically of that person basically, so it might possible the satellite group basically will remove that Nasbandi basically which is done by the doctors group basically. Nowadays basically the laser Nasbandi is also basically become famous basically, without any operation basically they do the laser operation, and like this basically they remove the generation basically. So you can just imagine up to what level. And this type of technology basically are created by America, China and UAE, that is United Arab Emirates basically, Emirates or Emirates basically, that basically different. So one of the person told that yes basically. Why United States of Emirates? Because they are into the construction industry, they are into the construction, that is cities equal to 1000 textbooks. So this cities basically 1000 text box equal to 1000 cities, that 1000 cities That design basically the UAE basically have, and the data of the 1,000 cities basically are kept by the America, and the technologies basically with the Chinas and Japanese and other American group basically, that has Europe like this. So each and every country basically has kept themselves very safe basically. So if anything in future basically happens to America, then entire digital world is going to affect basically. If anything going to happen to the China or Japan basically, or also UAE basically, or basically Europe, then the entire electronic industry is going to suffer. If anything is going to happen to the UAE basically, the entire construction industry is going to affect. That is basically textbooks equal to 1,000 cities. If any 1,000 cities basically modification is required, or basically the addition basically in 1,000 cities requires 1,001 basically, one city basically new creation basically is required, that only UAE can do basically. So if that UAE will not exist, then basically who is going to do that? That is the question basically. So one of the person told that yes, basically that's correct. So just see basically up to what level the chain basically has connected. So let's see basically where the status of earthquake is. What is the status of earthquake? See what is the status. Currently basically the net is also very slow, so it's not displaying also. So see basically the earthquake status. Spain got the earthquake, then basically Turkey got the earthquake, Russia got the earthquake, California got the earthquake, then basically the Alaska got the earthquake, but India basically are safe basically today. Today India is safe playing basically, I think. India is playing safely. See basically there is no India earthquake. See basically. I am searching India. There is no India earthquake. So you can just imagine basically the India is playing safely today. So India is playing safely today. So one of the person told that like this basically the galaxy basically groups creates the new 23rd number blood group, and here basically the main thing is the 22 blood groups are not going to leave that particular person. So his next generation will not happen. That is 100% sure basically. Because they will not divide their power basically. That is the question basically. They will not if the 23rd number person will come basically, then they have to divide their power basically. And power is very bad thing basically. If you get the habit of power basically, that creates lots of problem to you in future basically. You can't live without the power basically. For example, political people basically. Once they leave the politics, then basically their life basically becomes very dangerous basically. Why? Because they left politics. And they basically have a habit of power basically. So things are like this also. So one of the person told that so 23rd number basically blood group basically have to be very careful basically in his life basically. In his life basically. Because 22 all blood groups will become one, and they are going to create problem basically. But they can't kill that person basically. If they are killing that person then basically it might possible that entire 22 blood groups also basically might create problem in the future. So they basically will not kill that person basically, but they will do that type of thing basically that his next generation will not happen basically. That basically only happens through Nasbandi basically. And here basically if that 23rd number blood group basically is very powerful, then basically the universe group will remove that Nasbandi basically. Universe group will remove that Nasbandi, and he will have his next generation. That is 100% sure basically. He will have his next generation basically. So you can just imagine basically the creation basically of the world basically, and this is that design equal to, here basically I have taken the example of India. So next video basically we are going to basically talk about this.